In the summer of 1943, a new shadow fell over the battlefields of Europe, the Ferdinand. It was a 65-ton moving fortress armed with the legendary 88mm PaK-43 cannon that could vaporize an Allied tank from over 3 miles away. It was encased in 200 millimeters of face-hardened steel, so thick that almost no Allied gun could pierce its front. To the crews of the M4 Shermans, it wasn't just a tank destroyer. It was a mythological monster that seemed to have no equal. The Germans believed they had created the ultimate predator, a machine that would dominate the open plains and crush any armored counteroffensive before the enemy even saw a muzzle flash. It was the pinnacle of German over-engineering, designed to be an untouchable king of the long-range kill. The myth of invincibility finally met reality when U.S. tankers and ordnance experts came across a cluster of abandoned Ferdinands during the slog through Italy. These weren't destroyed by massive explosions. Many were simply stalled or abandoned, and for the first time, American eyes got a look at the beast of the East. They expected to find a sophisticated, flawless war machine. Instead, as they climbed over the massive 65-ton hulls, they were met with a baffling realization. They ran their hands over the 200 millimeters of frontal steel, looking for the familiar ball mount of a hull machine gun, the standard stinger that every American Sherman used to keep infantry at bay. It wasn't there. The front plate was a smooth, unbroken slab of impenetrable iron. The German designers at Porsche had been so blinded by the desire for long-range perfection that they had made a fatal assumption. They believed their own infantry would always be there to protect the tank's flanks, or that the Ferdinand would kill everything before it got within 500 yards. The American tankers looked at each other in disbelief. The most powerful tank destroyer in the world was effectively blind and defenseless against a single man with a bottle of gasoline. It was a masterpiece of engineering that had forgotten the most basic rule of the battlefield. The enemy will always try to get close. This missing machine gun turned the Ferdinand from a hunter into a massive steel-plated liability. On the Eastern Front and in the narrow lanes of Europe, Soviet and Allied infantry quickly realized that if they could survive the initial long-range barrage, the Ferdinand was helpless. Once an infantryman got within 50 feet, they entered a dead zone where the massive 88mm cannon couldn't depress low enough to hit them. Without a secondary machine gun to sweep the hull, the German crews were forced into a state of pure panic. They resorted to blind shooting, desperately firing their main gun at shadows, or in one of the most absurd workarounds in military history, they would poke an MG-34 machine gun out through the sleeve of the main cannon just to keep soldiers from climbing onto the roof. It didn't work. Infantrymen began to hunt the Ferdinand like a slow, wounded whale. They would wait in the tall grass or ruins, let the giant pass, and then simply walk up to the side of the tank. They jammed logs into the drive sprockets, placed magnetic mines on the engine vents, or stood right on top of the hull, knowing the crew inside couldn't do a single thing to stop them. The Germans eventually tried to fix the Ferdinand's folly by adding a hull machine gun and a commander's cupola, renaming the modified version the Elephant, but the damage was done. The Ferdinand remains the ultimate cautionary tale of World War II, a machine built to win the war on paper, but defeated in the mud because its creators were too arrogant to give it away to fight a man on foot.